Yo, what's going on, friends? So today's video is going to be on a patch 2.4.1 Crusader starter build using the Akkhan set, which is the first set you're going to get as a Crusader. Now, if you're not familiar with how to get your first 6-piece set bonus, I'd recommend that you click the bottom left icon there entitled Hater's Gift. It'll take you to about a 2 or 3 minute video explaining how to get your first 6-piece set bonus in Season 6. Now keep in mind with Thorns that crit chance and crit damage does not increase the damage of Thorns, as well as your average damage roll on your weapon is pretty irrelevant as well because that's not going to buff it either. So the stats you're really going to want to look out for. First off, always prioritize Thorns damage, and then you're going to want to get cooldown reduction because the majority of the abilities as a Thorns Crusader have really high cooldowns. Strength is also going to increase your damage tremendously, and then also physical damage on gear will also buff your Thorns damage. Another stat to really look out for too is area damage is quite good. So next up, let's take a look at what the Akkhan set does. So the 2 set reads, reduce the cost of all abilities by 50% while Akkhan's champion is active. The 4 set, reduce the cooldown of Akkhan's champion by 50%. And the 6 set reads, while Akkhan's champion is active, you deal 450% increased damage. So this set actually will just buff anything that you want to run. So keep in mind, if you get early on in the season some really good items that aren't Thorns pieces, there's no problem with switching from Thorns to something else. But I do really enjoy this Thorns build for early on progression, and I think it is quite strong and a lot of fun to play. Now, as usual for my starter builds, to simulate the very beginning of the season, I have 0 Paragon points spent, the lowest level gems in my gear, and then just the set pieces from Akkhan, and then all well-rolled rare items, which you can craft pretty decent items pretty quick once the season starts, and once you've hit level 70 and you have these pieces. So next up, let's talk about the individual abilities. So first off, we have Slash Guard. You gain 5% increased armor for each enemy hit. This effect stacks up to 5 times. So good little increase in armor there. Early on, you may have a little bit of issues with toughness potentially, and that's quite nice if you keep up the 5 stacks as much as possible. Next up, Barrel of Spikes, Bombardment. Call in an assault from the air, raining 5 barrels of spikes onto enemies around you, dealing 2,850% total weapon damage to enemies within 12 yards of the impact zone. And this damage of each barrel is increased by 200% of your Thorns damage. For the most part, since it's a 60-second cooldown, you're going to really be casting this the majority of the time on elite champions and bosses. Iron Skin, Reflective Skin. Your skin turns to iron, absorbing 50% of all incoming damage for 4 seconds, but the big deal here is while active, your Thorns is increased by 300%. So as soon as you click this, your Thorns is just going to go through the roof and really destroy most things. Speed Charge, Spiked Barding. This is going to be your most spammable damage ability as well as a movement speed ability. So you mount a Celestial Warhorse that allows you to move unhindered through enemies for 2 seconds. The Warhorse deals 500% of your Thorns every second to enemies through which you ride. Then we've got Akkhan's Champion, Rally. So while an Akkhan's Champion, you increase your damage by 35% and increase your Wrath regen by 5 for 20 seconds. But the big deal here is using Akkhan's Champion reduces the remaining cooldown of your other abilities by 12 seconds. So a lot of times you want to time this to where you've put all your other abilities onto cooldown, then pop Akkhan's Champion and really bring the majority of your abilities right back off of cooldown to then go to the next pack of mobs and wreck them. Consecration, Bed of Nails. Consecrate the ground 20 yards around you for 10 seconds. It heals you for 32,185 life per second while standing on the consecrated ground. And then the consecrated ground becomes covered in nails. Enemies that walk into the area take 100% of your Thorns damage every second. So again, your big 3 damaging abilities will be the Bombardment, Steed Charge, and Consecration. The Steed Charge and Consecration you can really spam much more than Bombardment on that 60-second cooldown. But again, with Akkhan's Champion and a lot of cooldown reduction on your gear, you should have no issue bombarding pretty often. And like I said before, you don't have to stack crit chance or crit damage on your gear, so it's really easy to roll for cooldown reduction on every piece that it's possible. As far as the passives go, we have Fervor. While wielding a one-handed weapon, your attack speed is increased by 15%, but the big one here is all your cooldowns are reduced by 15%. Again, a really heavy cooldown reduction spec, and the more the better. Finery. Gain 1.5% strength for every gem socketed into your gear. As I said before, strength is going to scale your Thorns damage considerably, and this is just a really nice damage increase buff. Lord Commander. The cooldown of Steed Charge is reduced by 25% and Bombardment by 35%. And then it increases your Phalanx damage as well, which is irrelevant for this build. But this will allow you to really spam that Steed Charge as much as possible, which again is going to be your most consistent Thorns damage. And then the fourth passive is Iron Maiden. Your Thorns is increased by 50%. So again, just a straight up increase to damage there. Next, let's take a look at some items to look out for early on in the season to increase the power of your build. So the Invoker set itself is quite good. Especially the 2 set goes very well with Akkhan. The 2 set reads your Thorns damage now hits all enemies in a 15-yard radius around you. Each time you hit an enemy with Punish, Slash, or Block an attack, your Thorns is increased by 35% for 2 seconds. Very, very good. And then the 4 and 6 piece sets are obviously extremely good as well, but you're going to be kind of switching to a different build at that point, but it's still somewhat of a similar play style. With the 6 piece set, you're probably going to want to get a good bit of attack speed. Next up, the Belt of the Trove. Every 6 seconds, call down Bombardment on a random nearby enemy. So you just get basically a free bombardment every 6 seconds, which is just a ton of extra passive damage that you don't have to actually cast yourself. The Boyarsky's Chip is the first legendary gem you really want to look out for. It adds Thorns damage as the primary ability on it, and the secondary ability, taunt the first enemy hit by your primary skills for 2 seconds. The Leoric's Crown increases the effect of any gem socketed into this item by up to 100%. You're going to socket a cooldown reduction gem there, getting tons more CDR. Again, it's a CDR build, the more the better. Now let's take a look at 2 weapons that are very good early on. The Hack weapon. A percentage of your Thorns damage is applied on every attack. So again, this is another one that you do want to have a good bit of attack speed, because you're actually going to be able to deal Thorns damage with your primary skill. And then also we have the Mortal Drama. Double the number of bombardment impacts. Now this is one that you're probably going to want to run in your Kanai's Cube, but you could also run it on your character potentially if you get it early on. Next we have 2 very good shields. The Akarat's Awakening. Every successful block has a 25% chance to reduce all cooldowns by 1 second. Yet again, this is a cooldown spec, so the more cooldown the better. And then we got the Vitoya's Spiker. Not sure if I'm saying that properly, but whatever. Enemies affected by Provoke take double damage from Thorns. So if you're going to run this, you need to fit Provoke onto your bar somewhere. But, you know, taking double damage from Thorns is pretty crazy. Then we've got the Heart of Iron. Gain Thorns equal to a percentage of your vitality. So the more vitality you have, the more Thorns damage you're going to get from this chest piece. Now there are quite a few other really good items to get as well as the season progresses, but these are some of the just strongest ones as far as DPS goes early on in the season, because, you know, early on you're going to be farming mostly Torment level until you actually start getting into some greater rifts, and even into greater rifting early on you'll be able to run a build similar to this, because, you know, the actual group metas aren't going to be really going yet in the first day or so. I mean, probably in the first day, maybe by the end, but early on, you know, these builds will be just fine for doing low level greater rifts, and then potentially if you get some of these items, you could probably jump up to Torment 9 or 10 pretty quick. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it helps some of you come Season 6. And, you know, a lot of people possibly may not know how Thorns works just because they've maybe never played a Thorns Crusader before. A lot of you guys, I'm sure, do know the mechanics of it. But, again, hopefully this helped you guys a little bit to get started in Season 6 if you do want to play the Crusader. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.